And then I will turn it over to, oh, just a quick note. I am Jack Soto, Cocopah, Navajo. I work with the American Indian College Fund as the Senior Program Manager for Career Readiness and Employment. We offer these type of conversations and webinars over a period of time, trying to be helpful to just the experience of both understanding and exploring careers, but then also sort of having some of that, super helpful support and just sort of thinking about like, how do I get from point A to point B after I graduate? Because I think that some of those challenges are pretty real and scary. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Wayne, and then he and his team can introduce themselves. Thank you all again.
Great. And Jack, thank you for inviting us, and thank you all for being here. We are really excited to be here to share with you a little bit more about the Walt Disney Company, but also about how you can apply for internship opportunities. I noticed in the chat we had some questions about the Disney College program. We'll definitely address that, but we're also going to talk about our professional internships as well. So I have a couple of our fantastic recruiters here with us today, Jose and Leslie, who will introduce themselves. We'll let you know up front that unfortunately Jose had something come up last minute. He will have to drop off a little bit early due to another commitment, but we'll go ahead and go through the presentation here. And then we'll, if Jose's still around, he'll be able to answer some questions too. Once he drops off, Leslie and I are happy to answer any questions you have until the end of the webinar. And so I'll turn it over to them. And thank you all again for being here.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for being here today. So we're going to get the presentation up and running, and we're going to go from here and introduce ourselves. Give us 1 second to do that here.
Well, again, thank you, Jack and Wayne, for everything so far. While the team is setting up the presentation today, that me and Leslie are going to speak to you all about just the application process, how to set up your resume, and if you happen to get an interview, how to best set up and prepare for that interview. So, and after that, again, we're going to answer any questions that you may have. But first, I'd like to just start off with introducing myself and kind of my story on my business story. So I started back in 2013 on the college program. I think Anna mentioned that her parents did it and she's looking to do something very similar. And that was because I had a huge affinity for Disney growing up, just like most of you. I watched the TV shows, movies, went to the parks every few years. And for me, I just wanted to get my foot in the door to really be a part of this company and hopefully start a career with it. And that college program, what that is you get the opportunity to spend a semester in person at the parks, interacting with guests, learning about yourself, and developing your skills as a professional. And it was an incredible experience. 2 years later, I came back as a professional intern, what we're talking about today. And then after that, I had a full-time role to become the operations leader in the park. After that, I had a great opportunity to become a project manager, got to open a few attractions. And one of my biggest passions I found throughout my Disney career was I loved paving it forward and helping people find new opportunities. So when the recruitment role popped up, I had to go for it. So I transferred over to the recruitment role and have been a part of it ever since. And now I get to pave it forward and give people like you an opportunity to be a part of what I was a part of. And throughout this presentation, if we don't answer your questions or if you want to connect with me, there is a social platform called LinkedIn where you can connect with me. And you can find me at www.linkedin.com/in-Jose Corpus. And this is the third, so just 3 capital letter I's. And while I was in recruiting, I got to meet my amazing peer, Leslie.
Thanks, Jose. So I'll introduce myself as well. So I'm Leslie Kozik. I'm initially from Central Illinois, and I'm currently in Orlando, Florida. I came down here to work for Disney, but I'll tell a bit about how that happened. So I started in the college program, like it's been mentioned before. So the college program, Disney College Program, is where students can come work in the parks in Florida or in California in the operational roles. So like merchandise, food service, attractions, things like that. So I did merchandise at the Grand Floridian right next to Magic Kingdom in Orlando. And I loved it. I fell in love with the culture and the history of the company, and I knew I wanted to come back. So that was during my junior year. And then I had 1 year left of school. So after I graduated, I applied for professional internships. So I'm a professional internship alumni myself. See my little screen there. I did a professional internship with the college program students. So I was supporting them behind the scenes and also, being their daily support for those students. So I did that and that ended due to COVID, but I came back to the company and I'm excited to be here. So I worked with casting services for a little bit, helping with recruitment for the parks and resorts for full time. And then I worked my way into this role with campus recruitment. So today we'll be talking about the professional internships specifically, and those are internships within different professional areas. So they range from wide areas like business. I personally support technology. So I support DMED, Disney Media Experience Division Technology. So like streaming services that you guys may see, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Star. So yeah, that's my area there and a bit about my background. But yeah, like Jose said, feel free to, connect with me on LinkedIn and reach out and ask any questions if we don't get to them today. So let's move along here. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead, Jose.
As Liz said, there are a variety of opportunities nationwide. So just to give a quick scope of what the company is all about, we have 3 segments and it's a very large company. So the first one is the studios, and the studios is the storytelling. So you think of, if you see the bottom of this presentation, we have our Disney studios, Pixar studios, Marvel, Lucasfilm, our live sports entertainment, ESPN, and our education documentaries, National Geographic. So those are the ways we tell our stories to our guests. And then, as Leslie said, we have our second segment, which is DMED, or Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution. That's how we distribute those stories to the world. So again, those Hulu's, FX, Disney Plus, and all of those services to help people see our stories and told. And then the last but not least is the area that I support, which is Disney Parks Experience and Products, which is DPEP. And that's how we bring the stories to life. So that's within our theme parks, our cruise ships, how when you go to the store and you see those products in the stores, or maybe a Disney store, that is all the DPEP side of our company. And all those internships that you can be a part of or opportunities are based out of Orlando, California, LA, Glendale. It's in Bristol for ESPN, in New York. So there's so many opportunities that you can apply for and be a part of this team. And even currently at this moment, because we are in uncertain times, there are opportunities for remote positions.
Great. So how do you get involved? So there's applications online. There's postings all the time. You can go on disneyinterns.com. For tech, there's also disneytech.com, but the postings will be posted over both of those sites. So you don't have to look at both. You can just, if you're interested in tech, search Disney Tech. If you're interested in Disney Interns, search Disney Interns. They will be posted on both. So the timeline, looking for summer, which is coming up next. We do a lot of our recruitment within late fall, so we're wrapping up some of it, and the beginning of the year. So we are recruiting for tech internships currently. So I would recommend, looking about 6 to 8 months before you want to start your internship. But we get things posted all the time, and you could opt in for notifications for when like certain types of postings are made. Jose, do you want to talk a little bit about the non-tech side and the timeline for like the summer or the spring and fall internships?
Yeah, of course. So we have different types of internships. I think there was a great question in the chat. If there's something in set design, you would be surprised that for almost any major or experience, we most likely offer an internship. So I would always say keep a lookout. We have 2 different types of internships. So there's internships that post 3 times a year. So you think about, school semesters, spring, summer, and fall. And then we have internships that post 2 times a year, which are just fall to summer and then summer to winter. So keep a lookout for those. But right now, the postings for our 3 tracks are currently posted and will be posted sometime between the time of January and March. And they do post. There's not a set timeline of when they're posted. It's not like every Sunday there is a posting. It can be posted tomorrow. So my best advice to you, if you're looking for a professional internship with Disney, is try to check as much as you can, and there might be something that you could be interested in.
Definitely, yeah. Keep an eye out. I remember when I was looking for my professional internship, I would just go on every day and see what new postings were made. So that's one way to do it. You could also opt into those notifications. But yeah, don't be afraid to like start looking and see what's out there. Specifically for tech, since that's my area, if there's anybody interested, we are, looking for interns at conferences too. So if you're involved in any organizations like Girls Who Code, Grace Hopper, organizations like that, feel free to, join those conferences, get involved, and we have a presence there too. So that's a way to connect and kind of learn more about what we do and learn more about your field. Awesome. So I'll tell you a little bit about the general application process for reference. So there's initially that online application, and now you know a bit about the timing and how to do that. We'll go through the screenshots of it later, so you know specifically where to click. And then after that, there's a phone screen with a recruiter. So someone like me or Jose will talk to you about why are you interested in this role? Tell me about your experience, things like that. And then after that, there'll be an interview with the hiring leaders. So you'll get to meet with the people that you'll be working with in the internship and speak with them directly. So that's usually through Zoom. And then the conversations with the recruiters like me and Jose are usually phone calls. So yeah, that's a little bit of the application process, just those 3 steps: apply, screen, and then interview with the team. Yeah, and we will go through a demonstration of the website later, showing some screenshots there. But let's move on here. Do you want to talk about resume tips, Jose?
Yeah, of course. So, and this goes for any job or position that you apply for. So, okay, say you're scrolling and you find that position. So the first thing you should do is open that position and read what it's all about to learn what that role does. Is it for you? And are you qualified? So there will be 2 different items. There will be basic qualifications and preferred qualifications and an education section. And that's pretty much what we're looking for. If you can write your resume and to have all the basic qualifications, that is a first great step. And for some of you, since this is for early professionals, is where do I start with my resume and how can I begin with that? And what if I don't have, work experience? What can I do? So it all starts with your knowledge, skills, and abilities. For me personally, what I do is for any experience that I have, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's outside of school, maybe volunteering, giving back and things like that, I will write an extensive list of all those things. And then after I write them all out, I would write, what is that thing that I did? What's that responsibility I had in that position? What were something I did? So what skill did I gain? And then having that exhaustive list. And then right there, that is 80 to 90% of your resume. So then you look at those items and then you kind of say, okay, here's the posting. How can I best set my intention of how I'm qualified to fit this specific job posting? And that is so important. But you might say, I don't have any experience or work experience or previous internship experience. I think what's the great thing about professional internships is most students don't have that internship experience. And as recruiters, we know that. So what you can do instead is put what is that relevant coursework that you're currently having in school that can say that you are qualified for this position. So now that you have the bulk of your resume completed, you have your name up top, it's format and grammar. So for resumes, as a recruiter, we have to look over hundreds, maybe even thousands of resumes. So really just making sure that resume is 1 to 2 pages, it's clean, it's easily readable, and it has the things that you really want to get across. Yes, I said write all that extensive list of your experiences, but don't submit a 5-page resume because it'll be just way too long for us to read. So how can you condense it and have intentional experiences to add to your resume? And then also check for grammar issues or errors like that. So everything, past tense, what's present tense? Is it a sentence? And things like that. And then after you're done writing your resume, I know for me that if I'm looking at a document or a project for too long, everything just seems to look exactly the same. I think it's right. So double check, maybe get someone else to say, hey, does this look good? But on top of that, maybe you give them the job description and say, hey, here's my resume. Can you make sure that there's no grammatical errors? But also, if I were to apply for this position, would I be a strong candidate for what it's asking for in those basic qualifications? And then from there, last but not least, should I have a cover letter or no cover letter? So the answer for that is technically no. If the job posting is asking you to have a cover letter, have a cover letter because it's needed. But say if there's nothing posted or on it, you don't have to have a cover letter. But think about this situation. Say you're a final candidate in a position and the other candidate also had very similar experiences, also very similar interviews. That cover letter might be the difference in that situation. So how can you write a great cover letter? It's just like how you're intentional with your resume and it's just focused on that. So now that you have your resume, let's focus on interview skills.
Great. So let's talk about interview skills here. So when it comes to the interview process, if you're chosen to move on, definitely have your resume handy. So if you have a paper copy, I prefer to do that during an interview, or a computer version. So if they ask you a question and you're blanking, because we've all been there during interviews, just take a look at your resume. Be like, oh yeah, I remember I did that one internship, or I took that one class, and then you can dive off and talk about that experience. And then, so some things that we'll ask during the interview, just so you kind of have some behind the scenes secrets here. So we usually start by confirming a couple things, where you go to school, your degree, your expected graduation, things like that, just to make sure, we're all set to move on. And then we'll tell you a little bit about the role, usually like the timeline, the location, things like that. And then after that, we'll ask you some questions. So something that I like to ask is, why this role and why Disney? I think like having that passion and motivation as a student is super important. So take some time to reflect and be like, why am I really interested in this? Before you begin your interview, and that'll help you kind of prepare to refocus and prioritize, what you're going to talk about. And then specifically for tech recruitment, I ask questions about the projects, what projects you've worked on in the past, either through school or through internships, as well as your technical skills. So for the non-tech side, maybe tell me about a time where you worked on a certain project, or like tell me about a certain experience that you had that relates to the role. So I definitely recommend reviewing the job description beforehand, and doing your research. So do your research into the role and what's posted, as well as the segment. So if you're, talking about something in streaming, look, just Google what's going on in Disney streaming, and some of those things may come up during the during the interview, and yeah, you'll sound really prepared, and then you can learn more about the industry too, and see if you even want to do it. So yeah, do your research there. Most of the initial like phone screens will be on the phone. If it's in person, or if like the interviews with the leaders are in Zoom interviews and it's like a physical person, definitely dress for success. Wear business casual attire, something nicer to show that you're prepared and excited. And then ask some questions at the end. So some questions I love getting asked are like, tell me about the culture at Disney, about the Disney journey of the recruiter or the leader, but just ask things that you're generally curious about. If you read the job description and you see a bullet point where you're like, I don't really know what that means, or I wonder if I could learn more about that, don't be afraid to ask that during the interviews. And then following up with your interview, it's great to send an email to thank the either recruiter or leader for their time. So I definitely recommend doing that to show your interest. I think sometimes that, puts you a step ahead and shows that you are really passionate about the role, because we want people that are, super interested and passionate. So I definitely recommend that as well.
So if you'd like to learn more about our Disney professional internships, one great way you can do that is just use your phone and text Disney intern to 426. And if you see on the screen, you'll see that photo. That's what they sent to you. And it's pretty much a direct link to the Disney intern site and how to sign up for more information about internships.
Great. And if you have to jump off, Jose, go for it. I know you have something coming on, so we can take it from here, but thanks so much for joining.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Great. So we have a little video here. Let me see if I can get it started. Oops, hold on. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pull up the video and get us going here. If not, we might just have to skip it for now. Maybe if Wayne could dive into that and get that video pulled up, that'd be great. But I'll go into the next slide and talk about a little bit about the Disney team. So let me pull that up. Okie dokie. Okay. So our Disney team. So this is the fun stuff. So now we get to talk about all the cool things that you get to be a part of. Oops, sorry. Working here at Disney. So here we have certain benefits and things that are exciting for professional interns. As a former intern, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So we have a bunch of great professional internship events. So we have a kickoff event at the beginning of the season, as well as an end of season celebration to celebrate you guys and all the work that you did. Throughout the season, we have executive speakers from different segments within the company, as well as career 101 events to get you diving into your career and learning more about how to build a career at Disney. We also have BERGs, which are business employee resource groups. I was involved with one during my internship about women in business. So they're different groups with people that may have similar experiences as you. So you can build community and learn from each other and grow in your career and just have some fun. We also have volunteering events. So at Disney, we have something called Volunteers, which at the end it's EARS, like Mickey Ears. So during my internship, I participated in Clean the World. So it's an organization that repurposes soap from hotel rooms to provide with people who don't have access to hygiene products. So there's a bunch of different volunteering events. That's just one example, but that's something that you can get involved with during your internship as well. And then for everybody within the company as well, you'll get park access. So you'll be able to go into the Disney World or Disneyland parks for free, which is great. And you'll also be able to bring your family and friends in. You'll get some comp tickets throughout your time and get to appreciate some of the magic and get to be a guest as well as helping behind the scenes. So one more thing I want to highlight is networking. So within your internship, you have the opportunity to speak with a lot of different people. And people are really open to just sharing their experiences and helping you grow. So I did a bunch of different events during my professional internship called Meet and Greets. So Meet and Greets is just a casual chat with someone in an area that you want to learn more about. So you can ask your leaders to get you connected and learn about where you want to go. So Meet and Greets just give you an opportunity to learn about maybe a different area of the company you didn't know about, or learn about something that you want to dive more into. So I think something that's great about working at Disney is everybody is so supportive and welcoming. So people are really wanting to help you learn and grow as an intern. And you can set up those meet and greets to learn more about them too. So that's a bit about the perks of working at Disney and kind of the fun things we get to do here. Let's move on to the next one. So next steps. So to get involved and to apply, go to disneyinterns.com. That's where you can see all those internship postings. And if you have any questions, there is a help button that I will show on the next page. Also, there's Disney internships and programs on Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So feel free to follow all those to kind of see what's going on and see what new things are out there. So this is a screenshot of what it looks like when you go into the interns page. So if you search Disney careers, Disney interns, Disney professional interns, any of that, you'll get to this page. So you can search for jobs in the top right-hand corner. You could filter for your location. Let me go to the next page. Yeah, so you can filter for the United States, enter any keywords like computer science or like human resources or like broadcasting and see what comes up. You can filter for a bunch of different areas here as well. If you're looking for a specific state, you can learn more that way. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a help button. So if you need any help or have any questions, you could go into there and get additional support. So then once you search, this is what the page looks like. So it'll have the Walt Disney Company be part of the story at the top, as well as how many jobs came up through your search, what was filtered by, as well as the specific titles. So you can click on there and learn more about the specific postings and see if it aligns well with what you've done or what you've been wanting to do. Great, so that's the end of our presentation. Where will your story begin? There's a lot of opportunities within the company, and I'm excited to share my experiences and help you guys achieve your dreams too. So now we can dive into a Q&A portion. I will stop sharing my screen.
And Leslie, I do have the video if you wanted me to run that for you.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thanks,
Okay,
Wayne.
sure, no problem. Let me just share there. Okay. Okay, there you go. And hopefully that gave you all an idea of maybe some aspects of the Disney company that you weren't aware of. Oh, it must still be going here on my side. Sorry about that. Okay, very good. One thing that we didn't talk about, but I've been putting it in the chat, I've been trying to answer questions as we go. We didn't talk about the Disney College program quite as much. I know some of you had questions about that. And then we also talked a little bit about the Disney Culinary program. So for the Disney College program, if you go on that site right now, you will see that there's not a place to apply just yet. But if you go down towards the bottom, you will see a place that says email up or sign me up for updates. And then we'll email you when we start accepting applications. I believe that our college program team is going to start accepting applications next week. I'm not 100% sure, but it will be in the next week or two. And then these will be for positions starting in the May or August time period. And then they'll be there until January. One thing that we do want to call out is the Disney College program is not a summer program. It is a full semester. The culinary program is a little bit different. I know we had a few people that had questions about that. And that one, we know that most culinary schools do require you to do an externship. And so for that one, it's a minimum of 10 weeks. And that varies based upon your school. So any specific questions that you have, we'll be glad to address those. Or if you can get those to Jack or someone from AICF, then we can get those questions answered if you have any about those. So again, for the Disney College program, it's disneycollegeprogram.com. I'll put that in the chat again. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a place that says to sign me up for updates. Okay.
Wayne, I don't know if you could touch on this briefly too, but so the internships that are available through this link, are they just specifically entertainment specific, or what type of students are you looking for? Can you just talk a little bit about like the the breadth of opportunity that is outside of the construct. Well, even within the entertainment, like you still look for business people and whatnot, correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're talking about the two different programs. When we talk about the professional internships, I often say that we have something for pretty much every major, but nursing and nuclear engineering. I think pretty much everything else that you can think of, we probably have. So we have opportunities in sales and marketing and finance and accounting. We have management internships. We have costume design and cosmetology and just pretty much everything that you can probably think of. And again, the majority of these opportunities are going to be available either in Southern California or in Central Florida, New York, or there in Bristol, Connecticut. For the Disney College program, that's only in Florida. And for these roles, you will be working in frontline roles. You may remember from Leslie's introduction of herself, where she talked about participating on that program. So those students will be working in attractions, quick service, food and beverage, full service food and beverage, custodial, entertainment, transportation, recreation, front desk, housekeeping, a lot of different areas, and working directly with our guests. That's what you would think of like in the entertainment world, you're not working 7 days a week, but the schedule does revolve around the 7-day work schedule. Our professional internships are going to be more like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 type of a position. I did see a note in the chat for our nursing majors. Those students are eligible to participate in the Disney College program, and you're certainly welcome to come and participate and get the Disney experience on your resume. And that does give you some experience with working with guests, what most people call customers or clients, but it doesn't necessarily give you as much experience directly related to your major, and we wouldn't really probably have a professional internship that lines up with your nursing major. The notes that I'm seeing in here, environmental science, yes, all those types of opportunities, we do have all of those.
Something I did when I applied for my professional internship is I applied for a college program as well. So if you're interested in both, apply for both and see what opportunities come up. So yeah, you can apply for professional internships within your field, and then also that college program working within the parks. So yeah, don't be afraid to try both and see what's best for you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. For the person who asked about the nursing program, what I probably would instruct you if I were advising you, I would probably say like just to consider what kind of competencies or skills you're wanting to sort of invest in and see if that's an environment that sort of plays out that could be helpful to. You know, because I always say that if you want to learn how to talk to people and network and be able to sort of facilitate a room full of dynamics and a group team, become a server because you have to deal with people on a very intimate level. You know, you becoming the factor between an individual and food definitely is a tough situation every time you go to a table. So just think about that as opposed to just sort of like, I want to translate from my academic, career plan, which is I'm a business major and I want to be in business, to I'm a business major that actually has an interest in sort of entertainment, but I don't necessarily know like what that means. So, do I become an accountant in the entertainment business, or do I become somebody who's sort of a financial advisor? Because we had a conversation with someone who was a professional football player, and then he turned into a financial advisor for current and former NFL players. And so that's his job track now, is that he is now doing that type of work. So don't get tied to don't centralize your attempt to sort of to build skills based upon what you're studying in school, because it's helpful, but it's also sort of like, thinking about when you get to we always say the real world, when you start to invest into your interest of like, I want to help elders, or I want to help youth, or I want to help the environment, you can still be an accountant and do that. So just sort of figuring out like, how do you sort of negotiate that dialogue? Wayne, if you want to start picking up on the questions that are in the chat too, I think that there are a couple things that emerged.
I'm typing right now, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Jack, where you can learn a lot from, working in some of those like operational roles, like as a server, merchandise, food service. A lot of people within the company started on the college program, and it's something that ties a lot of us together, is having that, commonality. And it's a really good opportunity to just have fun and learn about the company and figure out whether it's a good fit for you, and make some magic along the way. So we love that.
We had talked about this, and I'm sorry, Jose, I just picked up on this. Maybe you can add some depth to this question as you begin to chat. What kind of like resources or support do you offer for students who are interested in applying? I think that we had talked about like, is there an FAQ space on the website just to help students, or maybe give them some advice about who to connect with on their campus or in their environment to be helpful to sort of help get them, in quotes, prepared for that application?
Definitely. The website has a bunch of great resources. Yeah, so go ahead and search through there and see all the information provided. We'll also share some information at the end. We can send out the deck and some information for you guys attending today. And yeah, if you have any specific questions about your experience, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn and ask us anything that we didn't get a chance to answer today.
Yeah, definitely. I saw it in the chat earlier. Use your early career advisement team at your schools and universities. They're a great resource to help prepare maybe your first resume. What does that job interview look like, and really how to prepare for that. Those things are no one's just good at them when they first start. It's a skill that you acquire over time, and you have those tools and resources where you're at to really get started. And as again, Leslie said, you can definitely look at our website and to see how to best prepare as well.
I was just going to type, but the College Fund is also a resource for you. We have Amber, who's up here on the stage. She has been creating a variety of different templates in reference to resumes, in reference to cover letters, in reference to elevator pitches, just to help you be better about doing some of that. And again, if you have any need for that, and I'll type it back into the chat again, but you can email us for those resources at careers@collegefund.org. And also, there is, we have some really basic instructional resources that are in our Connect platform. Our Connect platform is built to help do a couple of things, and one is sort of like be a resource for some of these basic sort of career questions. So if you have, I inserted the Connect link, and you build a profile. It's pretty straightforward as any tool. And then in that, there's a capacity to find other jobs, other internships. We're building some of the resource for peer mentorship, so that if you find somebody in the network that you want to chat to, you're able to link to them at a student level, or even if it's an alumni, who's doing something in somewhere else in another business or company that you're interested in working in. But in that, we have what we call pathways, and you can go into there and link to some of those things, and you can walk through the process of creating a resume. So that's also a resource. But again, to Jose and Leslie's point, like you have resources, and even Wayne has mentioned this too, like there are resources that are on campus or around you. Just take a little bit of effort and sort of link to them, or even ask somebody who you talk to and feel comfortable with and say like, oh, I need help with this. Like, is there someone here on campus that can do this for me? I'm sure that there is, and it may not be a career source, a career office, but it may be someone who's actually putting that work into their courses. So just a thought.
Included, Jack, in the chat, our Disney Parks blog, and we've had current interns during their program give advice to other interns about how to be selected. So advice on interviewing, advice on resume review, and it's from the college program side, the culinary program side, and the professional internship side. So I put that in there as well. If you, it's up pretty high in the comments here, but if you just Google Disney Internships blog, it'll come right up and you'll see that in there. That's another great resource to get some tips on applying and so forth.
Thanks, Wayne. Oh, I had two things I wanted to pull out if I could. One was, there was a question that Amber put in about a student asking, would Disney hire someone who's a self-trained technician so they don't have like an academic, I guess, certificate or degree?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then also there was another one, one of our students or scholars, Emily Lockling, asked, is there something that sort of sets an application apart within the internship sort of area of application?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Leslie, if you can answer the question about technical certificates versus programs and so forth, that would be helpful. And then Jose, I'll ask you just to give some tips from your experience of how people can make themselves stand out when they're applying.
Yeah, good question. So for certificates and things, it's definitely something we're diving into. Currently for the professional internships on the tech side. So, if you're interested in like computer science fields, data analyst fields, things like that, you do have to be enrolled in an accredited college. And be enrolled in a course. So that's currently the requirement here, but there are a lot of opportunities, just within the company in general for like full-time opportunities for those, like just that technical certificate. So, but for the professional intern program, it is dedicated for current students at college. So hopefully that answered your question. If you have any other questions about that, you can reach out to me directly.
No, thank you. That is a great question. And I think the world has evolved where people are gaining experiences not from the traditional school setting. So how can you translate that onto a resume? Is it, do you put it in, skills or interests, or do you put it in relevant coursework? I think all those things apply as we are growing. We are looking for people not just to have the perfect best qualifications, but what experiences do you have just past, you go to school for, business management that you can acquire and translate into this role. And I think if it's self-taught, it goes to show that you're telling the story that you're willing to do things to be better, to be a better achiever or person, to learn more. And I think that tells your story. So I would definitely include those things, but still, when you're looking at a posting, always try to make sure that you are relating to the basic qualifications or you're hitting all those marks.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to apply for things if you're on the fence. If you're like, oh, have this one or two bullet point that they're looking for, but I don't have these other four, still apply and figure out how to tell your story. Don't feel like you have to have every single thing listed in the job description because that's not what we're looking for. We know you're interns and you're still learning and growing as everyone is. So yeah, don't be afraid to apply if you're interested and think it might be a good fit for you.
I also want to reiterate, don't be afraid to apply for a number of reasons, because the more you practice how to do this, the better you're going to be at it. So, and you can think of it in sort of a progression, which I don't necessarily is always the case, because someone just asked, should I apply for, or can I apply for a job and then apply for an internship? There's a really good structure in there, because you may apply for one job and then sort of be curious about another. But if you get hired, then you have an opportunity to grow with the company and be able to they facilitate that type of direction, sort of movement within departments once you're in. So you don't necessarily think about an internship. You can think about if I'm curious about working in the business department, but even though I have a love for baking, you can decide on which one you want to do and then maybe consider two different internship programs. So just sort of think about the strategy, but the more that you just do it, the better you are at it. And you hear that when you're talking about sports, but it's in everything that you do. Just if you spend time to just sit down and learn a process. And then the cool thing about that is that once you learn how to do it and you sort of achieve something in your learning, you're able to teach other people how to do it. So that becomes the cool part. You become a peer mentor, not only to your family, but to other friends and people. I've seen, students who have been able to land amazing internships with NASA that then begin to help other students within their community to land other internships in NASA. So it just depends on how you're approaching this. So, just decentralize the thinking on just sort of you getting it or you doing one thing or whatever, because you become you naturally will become a resource for others. So just figure out how do you grow that capacity as you learn to be helpful to learning of others.
Jack, kind of related to that, that was great too, because we want to make a couple of things clear. First of all, you can certainly apply for multiple internships. So students ask all the time, how many internships can I apply to? You can apply to as many as you want, but just make sure that you are qualified for them. So if you apply for 5, but you're really only qualified for 2, then you've applied for too many. But if you apply for 15 and you're qualified for all 15, then that's great. And you can also apply for the Disney College program and the Disney professional internships at the same time. It's 2 different applications, but you can apply for both as well. There was also a question in the chat regarding remote opportunities. So I will let you know right now, as we talk to our leaders for summer and fall, most of them are looking for us to have interns be in person, and that's the route that we are heading. But the question was about numbers rising, and so we certainly understand that. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to be returning to offices, I think, this week, and that has been paused with everything that's going on. So right now, most of our leaders are anticipating that internships will be in person, and if anything changes, then we will let you know as soon as possible.
There was another quick question that I wanted to point out, and it just emerged again in a different way. Someone asked if freshmen were able to apply for internships, and then someone else, like, how does age factor into internship placements?
Yeah, great question. I think I put this in because I had gotten that earlier. So freshmen are typically not eligible for our professional internships because most of them, it will state in the job requirements, they're usually looking for juniors, seniors, or recent graduates. For the Disney College program, freshmen certainly are eligible to apply for sure. And then we have often we have non-traditional students that do participate on our internships. So they may have decided to return to school and get a degree or something after that. So the majority of our students probably are in that standard college age. But the only requirement we have is on the early end, which is you have to be at least 18. Beyond that, though, there's no age limit.
And thinking about that, because there was another question about bringing their family members with them to an internship if they get selected. You're gonna, and I'm just gonna say this because it's very true, so you need to figure this out sometimes. Most companies who have internship programs in other cities and urban environments do not supply housing, period. So when you think about that, you're going to have to figure out, like, how do I mitigate that tension? You know, the college fund is able to be helpful to that, but you have to be an enrolled student and you have to be pursuing something that, you know, we're going to want to sort of be helpful to. You know, this plays into the larger picture of sort of understanding what does your career path look like. You know, so you'll have to give us a really good story and a narrative to sort of figure out if, like, how is this going to really play out to your overall sort of like development as a professional. So when you think about looking for resources, you know, it's not necessarily about need. It's about, like, the thing that we want to know is basically, like, how is this really going to impact your future? And if you can give us a good story as to that, what that narrative looks like, then that's going to be the kicker for finding that support. So, you know, when you begin to think about applications and thinking about other resources that could be useful to that, you know, everyone has a need for, you know, just funding in general, but we're more interested, again, I'm going to say it, this is the third time I'm going to say it, we're more interested in saying to me, I'm going to go and do this internship with Disney because I think, you know, there's an opportunity for me to dig deeper into understanding, like, how does this work for me to understand, like, what does it look like to work for a corporation at this size? Pretty simple, pretty basic, but it plays out in a different way than to say, like, you know, I have an opportunity and I just need some funding. Because, you know, ultimately we're wanting to make an impact and understand what the impact looks like. And I think that's just across the board for every application you consider. You know, you could have really amazing credentials for sure, but you have to figure out, you know, for most of the things that you want to achieve, and this is a conversation I had with a student recently, he was considering, you know, working in New York City at a financial institution, and the coaching I had to work through was he was wanting to be like, I want to be like somebody who looks competitive in reference to sort of growing up in a city. And I'm like, well, you know, institutions like that are probably looking for information about becoming, you know, from a rural environment. Like, if you can pitch for me the story that says I'm a Native American that's grown up on the reservation and we didn't have a lot of these resources. So when you offer them to us, we don't understand them. So maybe you could do these things to help us sort of understand how to be better serving, you know, to that community. So you need to, you know, refresh your thinking a little bit to think more about, yes, Disney is looking for someone like you, but also they're looking for someone who can be helpful to the things that they do. We had an opportunity to work with a Native gentleman who's working in the education department with Disney, and he talked about what the resources that he brought growing up, you know, in Albuquerque and being Navajo, and the way that it sort of surfaced in some of the education programming that they were doing. So, you know, figure out, like, how those things are integrated into your storytelling for these job applications. You know, we are at time, but I'm going to open up for if there are a couple more things that you guys want to, pearls of wisdom that you want to drop off before we head out. Again, thank you all for attending, and thank you for being here, Leslie, Wayne, and Jose.
Thank you for
Thank you again
inviting
for
us.
inviting us. We appreciate being here. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you so much.
Okay, anything last words before we head out, before I close out the session?
I think just enjoy the process. I feel like a lot of times we're looking towards the next thing, you know, what's, you know, my next year of school going to look like? What's my next internship? What's my career 5 years from now, you know, but just enjoy, you know, each moment that you have and the opportunities that come before you and keep working at it. But yeah, just enjoy the process. And if you have any questions that we can help you with, don't be afraid to reach out.
Great.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just know that you have resources all around you, and since you attend this webinar, we're also a resource. So please, please, please feel free to reach out if you are looking to start your Disney career, or maybe learn more about how you can better position yourself for your future.
Great. Anything from you, Wayne?
No, I think that was great. So thank you for Jose and Leslie just giving some great tips and everything. I appreciate their insight as recruiters. They do this every single day. So great tips.
Awesome. We will be sending out a survey for the attendees to fill out, and then Wayne, I'll follow up with you on some next steps from our end. So
Sounds
thank
great.
you all again, and I appreciate the time and energy for all of you. Thanks. Have a good day.
All right.